Hi, my name is Melissa and I'm a teaching artist for the Luther Burbank Center for the Arts. Some of you may recognize me from summer art camp. I'm also an elementary school teacher. Today on Let's Be Creative, we're going to do one of my favorite art projects, name art. I really love this project because you can do it a bunch of different ways with pretty much any materials in your house. You can use any kind of paper, binder paper, printer paper, just any blank piece of paper. You can use markers, crayons, colored pencils. I use pastels, but you don't have to. So first what I'm going to do is show you how to get started. Then I'll show how I completed this particular project. And then finally I'll go over a couple of variations that I did with other materials. So I hope you enjoy this video. Let's get started. So first I'm going to sketch it really lightly before I use any of my materials. So I'm going to just kind of draw a light line. It doesn't have to be super straight where I want my letters to go. If you have kind of a long name, I suggest starting with your middle letter and then going outward. That way you know it fits, or just making sure that you draw it small enough. So what I will do is show you how to go from the middle out. So my middle letter is I, and that's the middle of the page, and I'll go S, S, A, and then an L here, and then a big M. Alright, so now I know that it fits. I'll probably move this over a little bit. That's why you do it in pencil first, so in case you do mess up. Or, I don't like to say mess up, in case it doesn't look the way you want it to. There we go. So now, what I'll do is I will lightly erase it so I don't see any of the pencil lines. And then we can start with the color. Alright, now we're using color. I sped up this video so you could see quickly how I do it, but I'll explain as we go along. So I chose red first because I wanted to do a rainbow color, because I love rainbows, and if I have a choice I will usually choose to do a rainbow. So what I did with the red is I traced over my light pencil marks. You couldn't see them on the video, but I could see them in person, and I'm just quickly going over my letters. Next color is orange, and what I do is just trace around the letters in a kind of thick line. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's a little bit scribbly. I like doing this project in a bunch of different ways. I like to do it in really neat, clean lines, or I like to do it kind of messy and scribbly. Pastels are fun to be messy, so I went a more scribbly route this time. Now the orange and the red are very similar colors with these pastels. If I had a choice, I would have chosen a lighter orange, but that's okay. You'll see that the yellow really brightens it up after we move on from the orange. I had trouble getting it down on the page, and sometimes that happens. Sometimes some colors are more difficult to use than others. Now the yellow was really great. It picked up some of the orange as I was going around it, so I had to be careful not to blend it too much with the orange because I wanted it to stay nice and bright. As you can see, the letters are starting to run into each other. Eventually, as we move through the colors, that it will be less of me tracing the individual letters and more just tracing around the general shape of my name. Yellow is a really great color to brighten up your artwork. If you're feeling like it's too dark, or if you're feeling like colors are too similar, yellow is really great. It also is really good for blending if you want to blend. I didn't blend for this particular art project because I wanted the colors to be different and separate because it was a rainbow. Next, I go back over with the orange because I have a lot of white space between the red and the orange. And again, the orange was giving me some trouble, but I just kept going back and going over the orange until it looked the way I wanted it to. Now I have the light green. And I'm going around the yellow. Now you can see I'm just sort of shaping around the whole name instead of individual letters. The yellow and the light green look really great together, and the piece is starting to come together really nicely. Sometimes in the beginning, our artwork doesn't look as interesting or the way we want it to, but you gotta keep going and trust that it will get there. Make sure you fill in all the little gaps so there's no white between the letters. Next, I'm going to do a darker green, and it's really going to make the light green and the yellow pop. It adds some contrast with the dark and the light colors next to each other, making them both really stand out. It's also just a really nice color. It reminds me of the sea a little bit, stormy sea color. As you can see, I'm kind of doing thin lines first and then going back over to thicken them, because you can make things thicker, but you can't make things thinner. So I suggest that you do thin lines and then decide later you want it to be thicker, go back over it again. I have the light blue, and like the yellow, the light blue wanted to blend with the color. So it was trying to blend with this dark green, making it not as bright as I wanted to, but that's okay. See how with the light green and the light blue around the dark green, it really makes the name pop out of the page. Really interesting to look at. The last color I'm going to use is a dark blue. I didn't have any purple, otherwise I would have added purple, but dark blue is good too. So with the dark blue, you see that it sort of makes it look like a shadow behind the other colors, and it goes a pattern of dark, light, and then light, dark, dark. So remember to mix up your colors so that you get some contrast. Now, since blue was the last color I'm going to use, I wanted to make the outline extra thick, kind of block out the shape of the name a little bit. Make it thick, make it more bold color. Lastly, what I'm going to do is take a white pastel and sort of soften the edges to make it look more finished. White is an excellent color to sort of blend and soften pretty much any color, but particularly dark colors. So after I soften the edges, my final thing will be to go back over my red, because it kind of got lost in the orange, and just make it bolder and brighter so you can read the name really easily. So here we are. We have our finished product. It's a beautiful rainbow color. I can keep going if I want to. I can go to the end of the page. Let me show you some variations that I did with different colors, materials, and orientation. So the first variation I want to show you is I did markers. I did straight across with
capital letters, and I did a repeating pattern with about 4 or 5 colors. I really liked the shape of it, so I didn't want to go all the way to the end of the paper, so that was an intentional stop. Another variation I did was crayon, and I went diagonal up across the page. I wrote my name in cursive, and then I did kind of a scribbly line going out, which made it kind of look like a sunburst or sun rays. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this project. You know, you can use whatever materials you want. You can draw it different directions across your page. You can draw your name different ways. You could do cursive, you can do block letters. You can do different fonts, so whatever you want to do. I encourage you to play with this project, do a bunch of different variations, and just have fun with it. Thanks so much for watching the video.